Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. My name is Shawna, and in today's video I'm going to be telling you guys about how Miss Rona, aka coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, tried to claim my life. So the reason I'm doing this video is because I've been seeing a bunch of y'all out partying, living your life, going to restaurants, getting drinks with your girls or your boys or whatever, living life like there's not a global pandemic. So I thought maybe if I just share my experience and how it was literally the worst thing, then maybe y'all would be encouraged to like stay home until the global pandemic is over. And then we can all live our normal life. We can all go to the club. We can all get drinks. So yeah. So I got Rona back in March, like the middle of March to the end. And I don't know about anybody else, but I get a cold like when the season is changing every year. Sorry, my cat is really not singing for me. Girl, enough. So like I was saying, I normally get a cold every year whenever the season is changing. Just, I don't know, that's just how I've always been, since I was a kid. So I just thought it was that. So I'm doing everything normal that I would do if I had a cold. I'm, taking I take Alka-Seltzer, I think is what it's called. It don't really matter. But I'm taking cold medicine, I'm drinking tea, I'm doing the whole shebang. I'm doing everything to get me right? So I actually start feeling better and I'm like, okay, lit, like we're good, I was a little nervous at first getting the cold because that's when like Rona had like first started getting in like America and stuff. So I was a little nervous, but I was like, there ain't that many cases of it, so it ain't me. It can't be, right? So I'm starting to feel better, and like I go back to work like the following week or whatever. Like I'm like taking care of myself during that weekend, whatever. And my throat is dry. And I'm like, okay, well, it's probably allergies or it's this cold that I'm still getting over. So I'm like chugging coffee and tea and it's not going away. Like my throat is so dry, but it's not hurting, it's not scratchy, but it's just dry as heck. And that lasted for like a day. So I'm like, okay, we cured. You know what I'm saying? Dr. Shawna, like, period. So I go about my regular life, and then like a few days later, probably like Thursday of that same week. So dry throat Monday. Thursday is when I started feeling like just tired, like completely drained. Almost like I had pulled like 3 all-nighters in a row or something. And like I was sitting at my desk at work just chilling, like just not like popping cough drops because I still had a little bit of cough. And I'm just trying to make sure my throat ain't dry anymore. And then like I just start like you know how you're so cold that the inside of your body like feels like your bones are shaking. Like that's how I felt. But on the outside I was hot. So I'm like, what the heck? Mind you, I have not had a fever up until Rona since I was like maybe like 10. Like I had not had a fever in years. So I didn't know what the heck a fever felt like. So I was just like, dang, it's cold in here, but I also want a fan on me. Like I don't know. So I just went home. So after work, I went home, I showered, and I was like, I'm gonna just lay down and like sleep this off. And I just was feeling dizzy, and I was like hot but cold, and like just felt like I felt like I was losing my mind. Like it was crazy. So I was like, okay, like I called my mom, and she was like, go get a thermometer. Like go get is it a thermometer? I think so. I think that's right. It just don't sound right to me. So I went and so me and my boyfriend are driving around. We're driving all the way around. Every place is out of thermometers because, y'all was really doing a lot. And, there was no toilet paper. There was no cleaning supplies. And there was no thermometers. So I'm over here. I'm calling grocery stores, child. I'm doing the most. I'm trying to do everything I can to find a thermometer, right? So every place is like, nah, we don't have none. We don't even have the baby ones, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna just go to urgent care, like whatever. Like I'm gonna go to urgent care, see if they can just take my temperature. I know that they probably gonna charge, but at this point, like whatever. So I ended up going to urgent care, which is in that moment, my mom was like, that's dumb. And my boyfriend was like, girl, what the heck? Like, you're about to waste your time. But hindsight, looking at it now, is probably the best thing for me because it ended up being Rona. So I go to urgent care. And there was a couple who was actually getting tested for coronavirus in front of me. So, but we were the only 3 people in the place. So I actually waited outside because I was like, okay, well, you know, I don't want to get coronavirus coming into the doctor's office. Like, ugh, why would I do that? You know, whole time I'm the one who I'm the problem. Everybody else should have been outside because of me, you know? So anyways, so I eventually go back and they take my temperature and they're like, oh, we think it's bronchitis. Oh, you do have a little bit of a fever though. And my fever was like 101 or something like that. So it wasn't like nothing terrible. Like I didn't feel like I was about to pass out or nothing like that. But like I was a little dizzy, but not enough to where I was like, oh Lord. But I was like, I just didn't feel good. So I'm like, okay, well, that explains why I'm hot, but I'm also cold. So she's like, yeah, it seems like it's bronchitis. Do you have any trouble breathing? And like the doctor was so adamant about it being bronchitis that I told her like, well, a little bit, but not really. Like, because at that time, I really was not having that much, like that difficult of a time breathing. Days to come, baby. We'll get to it. But so I was telling her no. She was like, oh, well, okay. Well, here's an inhaler. Here's this antibiotic. And then here's it was one other thing. Whatever it was, it didn't work for me. So I go home and she's like, oh, it's bronchitis, I'm sure. Did chest x-rays. Oh, we don't see anything. Oh my God, we don't see anything. I'm like, okay. Well, you know, good to know that I know what it is now, right? Bronchitis, cool. So days go on. I'm home taking this medicine, getting worse. And I'm on the phone. My mama like, you sure this is bronchitis? Like, I ain't never had bronchitis like this before. My mom's like, girl, I always deal with that. Like, you're fine. And I'm just like, it's getting harder and harder to breathe. Like, when I laid down, I felt like I was like suffocating. Like, it was crazy. Days and days, like as days went by. Probably like the 3rd or 4th day, it was like, that's when I realized like, oh, I cannot breathe for real. Like going from right here to probably right here, like not even to be dramatic, I was like out of breath for real. That inhaler was not working. Nothing was working. So I like muster up enough strength or whatever. And I'm like calling the doctor. I'm like, yeah, I need to get tested for coronavirus. By this time, mind you, I skipped that part. So after I go to the doctor, they tell me that it's bronchitis. I had like 3 days off, like 2 days off work, I think, 2 days. And when I go back, I figure out somebody at my job had coronavirus. So I'm like, you know, I'm just like, oh my God, like why? And so, he's all right now, by the way. But, so I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and I'm dealing with this, like, thank God it ain't Rona though, right? So that day after work, I went and called because I was like, I'm not getting better. Like, I'm not, like, I felt comfortable because they were telling me, I felt comfortable enough to go back to work because they were telling me after a few days, like, you're not contagious anymore, so you should be fine. So I went to work, and then I was like, nah, I can't do this. So I went to the doctor, and I called before I went, and I was like, yeah, I need to get tested, like, period. So she was like, okay, come in. The worst pain. And they really be lying and making it seem like, oh, it's just gonna be 2 seconds. Shove the thing into your brain, and then they're like, all done, bye. And then, like, you gotta wait 45 years for the results to come back. But that's another whole thing. We'll get to it. So I get home. Every day I'm progressively getting worse. I'm having no more fever because I was popping Tylenol like candy, baby. Because, you know, at this time we were not supposed to be taking ibuprofen. So I'm taking Tylenol, popping them joints like candy, right? Drinking Pedialytes and all this other stuff because I'm not eating. Appetite, who that? Appetite, who is she? Never heard of her. Because never heard of her. So I'm not eating. So I'm just drinking hecka tea and a bunch of Pedialyte and water so I don't pass out on the floor. So, and like crackers here or there. But, so I'm just getting worse every day. Every day is getting worse. Every day is getting worse. And, it gets to the point where I'm like, I literally cannot breathe. Like I said, walking here to here, I'm like literally fatigued. Like walking to the restroom, I would have to sit on the toilet for like an additional like few minutes to catch my breath, to like muster up the strength to go and lay down in the bed again. And what is that, like 10 feet? Like literally, like it was terrible. And it got so bad, probably like I'm gonna say like 7th or 8th day of not being able to breathe. I was like, I need to go to the hospital. And I called my mom and I was like, I think I'm gonna go to the hospital. Like I cannot breathe. Like, I don't know. She was like, well, what do you think they're gonna do? And I was like, I don't know, but I need to go to the hospital. She's like, and then she like broke down on the phone and was like, I just want you to know that you can go to the hospital if you feel like you have to. But once you get there, there's literally nothing that we can do to help you. And that was like, dang, like, because at this point, like, your family couldn't go to the hospital with you no more. Like, my boyfriend wasn't going to be able to go to the hospital with me. Like, I would have literally had to stay there by myself. Nobody could come and visit. Nobody could be there. Nobody could, you know. And she was like, and if this, like, isn't Rona or whatever, like, you're going to make yourself sicker by going there. So just make sure that if you go, like, you actually need to go. So I'm like, okay. So I decided not to go because, you know, that kind of did break my heart. And I was like, nah, like, I'd rather be surrounded by everybody else, you know. I'd rather be, like, out, you know. I wasn't surrounded by anybody. It was just me and my boyfriend. But I was like, I'd rather be at home. So literally after I had that conversation with her, the very next day is when I was, like, finally able to take a deep breath. But it felt like I could feel my lungs expanding. Like, it was terrible. Like, it felt like I could feel my lungs like straining to open so I could get a deep breath. But I was like forcing myself to take a deep breath because Child's like, Rona ain't gonna kill me. And in the back of my head, I knew, but I'm still on this, oh my God, it's bronchitis, right? So that's probably like a Wednesday's when I talked to my mom. Thursday is when I started being able to, a Thursday. So it's probably like April now. Like April 1st is probably when I called my mom and told her that I was going to go to the hospital. April 2nd is when I figured out I could take a deep breath. And I'm looking off to the side because I'm trying to remember the dates, because April 3rd is when they told me my results. Mind you, it's been like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. And it's been like a few weeks since all this stuff has been going on. April 3rd, they call. By that time, sorry, I'm able to take a deep breath. It's like the final, like the next day. And I'm that whole, like April 2nd, I was just kind of like forcing myself to take deep breaths like all throughout the day. So that Friday was a little bit easier for me. She calls and she's like, yeah, so you did test positive for coronavirus. And I'm like, huh? By this time I can walk up, I can walk around. I'm still out of breath, but I can walk around a lot easier. So I walk to my boyfriend. I'm like, so I have coronavirus. And he's like, what? And then I was like, yeah. And at this point, like, it was laughable to me because I was like, y'all really had me thinking that I had bronchitis, giving me pills that did not work, giving me something for an illness that I never even had. And it was wrong the whole time. Like, what? You know? And so it was like laughable. Like, I started laughing when she told me, because I was like, girl, like, huh? And these daggone test results came when I started to feel better. So I was like, okay, well, thank you. When can I go around people again? And she's like, oh, well, I would wait an additional 2 weeks, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, okay, thank you. And so But I didn't trust that because I'm one of those people. I was like, I would feel terrible if like I accidentally walked by somebody's grandma in the grocery store and she didn't drop dead because of the Rona, because I gave it to her. So I'm like, nah, I'll wait. I'm waiting. So I got the opinion of like 2 other doctors and a nurse. And before I like was out and about, like going to grocery stores and stuff again, and like, but after I was able to take a deep breath, everything kind of slowly started to subside. And I started to obviously feel like more like myself. My appetite came back. I wasn't coughing as much. I still have a cough to this day from it. I still have pain in my lungs, like to this day. Like sometimes when I take a deep breath, I still have to cough, and it like opens my lungs more. I don't know. But I say all that to say, take it serious, girl. Like, just because you did not get it, like, you don't need to be toying with it. You know, like they're saying young people, you know, they were saying at first, young people, you don't really have to worry about it too much. Like, it's really old people who really might just drop dead like flies, right? But young people are the reckless ones right now. So y'all are dying. Like, I don't get why it's so hard to believe or hard to understand. Like, you do not know how your body is going to react to this. You don't know what's going to happen to you if you were to get it. You don't know if you're going to be somebody who's asymptomatic. You don't know if you're going to be somebody who, like me, was able to treat it at home and my body was strong enough to fight it off. Or you don't know if you're going to be somebody chilling on a ventilator. You don't know that. So why would you put yourself at risk because you want to go to Applebee's? Like, really? I get it. We all want to go outside. All of us, okay? I'm tired of having to wear a mask out. But I will wear a mask out, not only for my health, but for somebody's grandma or you. Like, you just take it serious, bro. Like, if y'all just take it serious, it can be over with. We can go back to normal life. We can have our bottomless mimosas, okay? We can have our Taco Tuesdays. We can have them. We can go out. We can go bowling again. The pools can open up. We can live life. Just do what the heck you gotta do. Wear your mask, stay home so we can get over it and we can move on like almost everybody else but us. All right, so thank you for watching my video. I know it was a bit heavy, but I just had to tell y'all my experience, and hopefully it reaches somebody and touches somebody enough to where they feel encouraged enough to stay home. But if you enjoyed watching my video, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And stay home, girl, period. Just stay home. The mall is always gonna be there. Applebee's always gonna be there. It is. Just stay home. All right, bye y'all.